Hey, everybody, welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
You know, Dean, it was a kind of a running gag on the show when we started that I never was particularly interested in doing video
Yes,
for
this
this
is true.
podcast.
Yes.
You know, because
Yes.
I think of podcasts as a thing that I
It's an
stick
audio.
in my ear and
Yeah.
just listen to.
Which you're correct, I guess.
I mean,
In
I know
a traditional
lot of people do
form,
consume
yes.
it that way, yes.
Yes.
But you and Cordy and Marco were pretty big on like, no, we need to be recording video for this.
Video.
And you guys were right because we consistently get more video views each week.
Yes.
And we get actual audio downloads.
Yes.
So obviously video does
I got some stats for you a little later on about the importance of video.
I'm sure we
I'm
do.
a video geek, dude.
Well, you are. I know
I
that.
know.
And let's be honest, when you record video, you also get all kinds of stuff that you can cut up for like social clips. And
Absolutely.
people are more interested in seeing it online. I mean, if I just put a WAV file out somewhere, no one's going to give a crap about that. LinkedIn, like that doesn't grow your followers at all.
No, it doesn't.
So to that end, we have a guest here in studio with us.
Yes.
We've got Max Faust, who I'll tell you a little bit more about where you might know him from, even though you may not have actually ever seen or heard him before.
Okay.
But he's going to talk to us a little about this. He's a videographer and a producer and a filmmaker, and he's got lots of tips for us about why you should be using video in your business, what it means for your business, how it can help you grow and extend what you're already doing out there.
Yep.
He's going to give us maybe a little bit of tips on what happens when someone does reach out to him for a project, maybe what they expect and what the reality of video production is.
Bridging the gap between reality and expectations.
Those can be very two very different things. And then we'll also talk a little bit about how you can maybe enable a video production within your business, even if you don't think you have the right people or talent or ability to do that.
Just about anybody can do this. You think?
That's true. I mean, we all carry around a pretty high tech camera in our pocket. These days.
Seriously high tech camera, if you ask me. But I'm old enough to understand the days when
Yes, when we did not have those capabilities.
that's right.
All that plus our usual value to the VAR and what's TEConnecting with us. It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
As I mentioned, our guest today is Max Faust. Max is the owner of Faust Film. And again, Max, I'll point out that the reason why we have you here, in part, obviously you know a lot about this topic, but also we've got a little bit of history with you. For those that may follow BlueStar on our socials, and especially LinkedIn, Facebook, there's a good chance you might have seen a cool little video that we put out early this year, early 2024, called When Chaos Calls. It was our way of kind of shouting out our automation in our warehouse, the robotic stuff we were doing out there, and just, we came up with just a fun little video. Well, Max is the person that helped us shoot that video. We brought him in, and he did a lot of the camera work, helped stage everything for us, just brought the next level professionality I think we needed for a project like that. Me and Cordy and Marco, we had all these big ideas, and Max was the guy to kind of bring it together and be like, all right, let's bring a little actual experience to the table here on how to make this work, and not just all these
so we
crazy
don't look
ideas.
foolish. Yes.
So, first of all, maybe we'll have Marco drop a little clip in from that video right here.
Thanks for calling BlueStar. This is Austin. How can I help you?
Austin, this is John Schaus over here at Tech and Such. Look, bud, we got a bit of a fire drill going on. I got this project starts tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp. I need 2 extra printers. They only asked for 8. Now they need 2 more. Can you help me out, bro?
Just the 2 printers?
And also, I'm going to put the link in the show notes, so if you're only listening audio, you can find that there as well.
Nice.
So
there you
go. Check that out. It's a good video. But Max, welcome in. Glad to have you here on the pod today. First, start us off. Give us a little of your background. I heard you and Dean kind of chatting about it earlier. Like, how did you get into video production? How did you get into like starting your own little film company? And what kind of stuff are you typically doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. So I kind of have a pretty untraditional route to where I got. I didn't go to school for filmmaking. I was actually going to school for chemical engineering. And I was at Ohio State, and while I was there, I had met an entrepreneur who had pretty much, long story short, just inspired me to try to do my own thing and kind of showed me that it was a lot more realistic than I had thought before. So And kind of at the same time, I was having these feelings of not being very passionate about what I was studying in school. And I have always had this passion of filmmaking and video production that I kind of lost touch with as I got later in high school and started thinking about college. And I was so focused on money and what can I do with school. You know, I did pretty well in school, so the logical next step was go to college, get a good job, and then I'm done. But then I figured out that's not really how it works, and I should probably kind of like what I'm doing. So
It helps.
yeah, exactly. So I had made videos as early as I have memories from being in elementary school, just dying to get my hands on a video camera. At the time, I don't think iPods were out yet, but they did have like handheld little video cameras that started making it more accessible. And to me, it was just fascinating. Like I can make my own videos, and I forget exactly how old I was when I got my first camera. I want to say sometime in middle school. But then, yeah, me and my friends, we would make all sorts of videos. I even went as far as to write a script and kind of direct video before I even really knew what I was doing at the time. I was just had some ideas and wanted to make sure it got done right. So just kind of took that role. Kind of found myself, whereas I liked being in the videos younger, I found myself more taking on that director role. And I also like writing a lot, but I like to make sure that the vision gets carried out correctly.
Nice.
So yeah, I'd always had that passion, always very much loved movies and television, but kind of lost touch with it, like I said. And when the time came and I was thinking about potentially trying to do my own thing and start my own business, video production was still there in the back of my head, and I'd known some people that had gotten into it and seemed to be doing okay, and I just had this faith in myself that if I'm doing what I love, I will figure it out, and I will be way more successful at that than if I just do something just to check a box. So from there, I had the thought of, I'll just not return to college for the time being, and I can always go back if this doesn't work out. But I went to OSU for 2 years. Then after that, decided to try my own thing. That was in like 2019. And since then, I haven't looked back. Nice. So I've just been slowly building my business since then. And more recently, it seems to be more of an exponential slope where things pick up more and more as time goes on. But
it's good word of mouth type of thing.
For sure.
You start doing it, and people start recommending you to others, which we highly recommend you from what you did for us. So
thank you. Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think about, because I know when I was 19 and had all this weight on my shoulders of, is this the right choice? Am I going to regret this? It's just crazy to think of. I've actually, in a sense, made it in a business sense of being able to make a living off of making videos and be very comfortable with that. But I still have some creative aspirations and even business goals. But I think that's good for anyone to create new goals as you go.
Absolutely. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Are you still a bartender at night, or
no?
Okay.
No,
it's the old struggling artist, right? Like, that can be very difficult to do. So kudos.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's definitely the phase between going from a full-time job to my own thing was terrifying, definitely. And I definitely built up to it, and I went part-time first, and then eventually left where I was working before I did my own thing full-time. But yeah, it's only, I feel like I've only increased in business, and I'm very thankful and feel blessed to be able to get to do this and keep doing it for a living.
Nice. That's awesome.
I love those stories. I think I've pointed that out on the pod before. Like, we've had guests, within our big, technology reseller channel that have had similar stories in a way where they went to school for something entirely different. They had a whole different focus in their life. And
you
then
mean
at
like
some
chemical
point,
engineer?
Exactly. Now, I admit that's one of the more dramatic swings I think I've seen. But still, you have that happen. Like, as we find sometimes experts that we talk to that maybe they're retail experts, they're healthcare experts or something. Yeah. And obviously they're focused on the technology side now. But it was because they got their start in that industry maybe in general, like, people that worked in hospitals or were nurses or doctors, and then discovered like, hey, the technology could improve what we're doing, and then found themselves on this side of the fence, helping promote technology and sell technology and explain why it's so important. So I love stories like that. I think it's pretty cool when you kind of, especially for someone, young enough to figure that out too. A lot of times we don't get to that point until we're much later in life, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then it's too late.
Yeah, people spend
Dang
good
it.
20, 30
Yeah.
years doing something they don't really love, and suddenly go,
Right.
I could be doing something I like. So I applaud you for figuring that out a little bit sooner than most.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about video production, because as I mentioned up front, and Dean, I know you've got stats, I've got some stats here too. We'll get into how video can impact and help businesses, and obviously, like, we live in a very video forward world. Again, maybe the stodgy older folks like myself that just want to listen to a podcast on audio or do a lot of reading. That's great, but younger generations in particular are really enamored with video.
Yes.
A big part of what you promote with your business is this idea of video being a 24/7 sales rep for your business. So why do you feel like video is so important that it helps to extend the reach of sales and help supplement whatever other content strategies a business might be doing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think today we live in such a digital world that the way I look at video is it's just an extension of your business or of yourself into the digital world. It's the digital face of your company or yourself. An analogy I like to think of is kind of the clothes you wear to a meeting. If you wear nice clothes, people are going to think about you a certain way. Whereas if you wear not so nice clothes, people will think about you in respect to that. So with that being said, there's definitely a place for the lower quality, more amateur video production. But and we can definitely get in and talk about that. But yeah, I definitely think regardless, it's important to really think about the digital face that you want to put forward, that you want people to see, because a lot of businesses are only seen on the internet these days, and some of the most successful businesses only do business on the internet. Right. So all they are is the content that they produce to their customers. So there's no right way to go about it, but thinking about how you want to go about it and making sure there's some strategy to it and that it's reflecting you how you want to be reflected, I think is very important.
Yeah, I love the concept of the 24/7 sales rep. So you got some stats? I'm going to throw some stats here real quick.
You give me some of yours, and I'll give some of mine.
91% of people want to see more online videos from brands, including strong consumer demand for video content. 91%. And then here's a really shocking one. Videos generate 1,200% more engagement than text and image content combined, demonstrating the superiority of
my
video.
writer sensibilities. So,
I know.
There's a little stab in my heart when I hear that, but I get it.
Well, somebody's got to write the script, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
you still have not lost a job.
That's true.
So when you think about it, I mean, yeah, like our culture is so video based, and again, I've been in the industry long enough where I saw it coming back when it was CD-ROMs, even before streaming and all that kind of good stuff. It was just it's been a medium that is very, very effective, and even more so today. So when you think about engagement, that's nice marketing speak, right? Oh, we got to get people engaged in what we're doing.
Right.
Well, here's a medium that's 1,200% more effective than others. So
It doesn't get much more engaged.
it doesn't get
than that,
more, and then 91% of people want to consume this kind of stuff. So I mean, you're just you almost have to be in the video game, if you ask me, if you're going to have any seriousness around a marketing kind of endeavor. But to your point, Max, I mean, it's a 24/7 sales rep. That's brilliant in the sense that it helped me kind of frame a different aspect of it, that you can't be everywhere. If you're a business owner, I don't care who, even BlueStar, we can't be everywhere all the time.
Right.
But you can produce good-looking video that people are meaningful video that people are going to want to consume, and that can be out there all the time, right?
Yeah.
Speaking on your behalf.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really no other tool like it where video can capture your personality. It can capture so much, even sometimes more than just a meeting with a person. And that's, I mean, think about a movie, all the emotions that a movie can make you feel just through the visual medium and audio. Audio is a big overlooked part of video too. It's definitely half of it. Some could argue that it's even more important. So yeah, through this, you can really reach people and express certain things that really no other medium can. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, as an old audio engineer, I will be in the camp that audio is way more important than video. Video's nice, yeah, it gets all this glossy stuff, but the audio sucks. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna do well. What I really like about the video's ability is its ability to control message. So when you think about the concept of a 24/7 sales rep, you can kind of control. You can control the message of what you have through video, unlike a live event or a webinar or something like that, or a rogue sales rep that goes unscripted and starts saying things about your company that really, it's like, have you ever been in those meetings? Like you cringe. It's like, dude, what is he talking about? No, but video can, like, you're scripting what the message is. You're bringing the emotion that you want, as Max indicated. You can really. That's one of the things. That's one of the things I like about videos, that you really have control over what you're trying to do. Yeah. And now with the distribution being from social to whatever, I mean, there's just all kinds of ways that you can now take these video nuggets, slice them, dice them, use them in different ways, etc. But at the end of the road, again, from a marketer standpoint, love the control.
Yeah.
And
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to that point, kind of speaking on the control, you can also compare effectiveness of different types of videos and see what's getting more engagement, what's not, what's converting, what's not, and that's a very powerful tool that you don't necessarily have from like a sales call. You can't necessarily get those same metrics. Sometimes you can, but video is definitely pretty unique in that way.
Well, that's a good point, because salespeople typically develop a pitch over time. Where you're saying the same things, you're explaining the same things, and we've talked before about a good salesperson is someone that knows how to modify their pitch based on who they're speaking to and the message they're trying to deliver and what their needs are. But that's easier said than done for a lot of folks. And I know some people might think, well, isn't video just going to be kind of a static way of doing that? But to your point, you can make more than one. Or more importantly, when we talk about this idea of like being able to take video and chopping it up to like have little clips and segments, but James Cordy's a big fan of this when he talks about making videos, which is like, hey, you make something and then you can divide that thing up and keep using it for a good 6 months to a year after the fact, just by taking little pieces of it, because you can't guarantee that everyone's going to see that initial video you filmed. You can't guarantee that they're going to see any one particular of your little snips that you put together. But you want to make sure that overall you're putting enough stuff out there that they're getting a little part of that picture. Maybe enough that leads them back to watch the whole video. Or maybe it's just enough for them to understand a little about your business. And to your point, you could have a clip that's like kind of funny in context. You can have one that's a lot more serious. You can have one that's focused on one particular aspect of your business, and then go and put those out wherever you need to try to attract a little bit of attention. But it's one of those things that can live on for a very long time. I think that's where you mean that idea of the 24/7, that not only just in the idea that, like, sure, anybody can drop in on your website at any time and watch your video or go to your YouTube page or whatever, but just in the fact that it can be generating interest and people can be spotting it and seeing it at all different kinds of times of the day, different times of the year. I know some people sometimes think like, all right, well, I can't go and sell when it's, a holiday or something. I'm not open. The people aren't, in their offices. But maybe you have a clip that's up on Facebook or something, and someone's thumbing through their feed and comes across it, and they're still learning about you and your business on a day when they're otherwise not working.
Absolutely,
they're still getting something advertised to them. Maybe it's maybe your message is a little bit different at that time, but still you're reaching them at a time that you would never ever be able to capture them in their actual office environment.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think you said it better than I could have. I mean, it's just always there. It's always reaching people. And after you produce the video and set it up correctly, you don't really have to do any more work. And now this piece of content is working for you 24/7.
Should have a good editor to come in and help you chop it up.
Yeah.
Good social people to put it where you need to.
Well, when you think about video production, though, I do think, and maybe we'll get into this, or now we can, I think your overall video strategy is something to consider, because and I'll go back in time a little bit, just because I've been in this industry for so long. I mean, if you were going to invest in a video production 20 years ago, it was a serious endeavor. Right. I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars, which you can still do today, but you wouldn't even think about it unless you were going to invest that kind of dollars. Well, now with the advent of the phone, with the consumers, or our society's ability to be flexible on different video productions and consuming them, right? It doesn't always have to be this Hollywood glory, nice corporate looking video. It can be shot on a phone in a car somewhere. And
still get a million views on
still get a million views,
Reels
still
or
get
TikTok
the
or whatever.
Exactly. Still get the story across in such a way. So I guess where I'm going is the fact that, you know, as a company's concerned, you should consider different video productions. And to Max's point, I think, you know, where is that then going to be shown? You were talking about A/B testing, right? Like what videos work and what's going to work for your audience and those types of things. There are so many options now to even consider when it relates to that. We try all kinds of stuff. Hell, we did a cooking show, for crying out loud. I mean, you know, there's in stream that it's you have the ability in this world now, in the tools, again, literally in your pocket, to do try just about anything from a video production standpoint. It doesn't have to be glorious. It can be, so maybe you do spend some money on case studies and you hire somebody like a Max to make that look good. But you could still have other strategies where you're just doing in a box videos or, you know, unbox videos like we do.
I was just going to point this out. Like our unbox videos do very, very well. Like we get lots, and granted, they're short, sweet, they're simple. You know, but at the same time, like that's what sometimes what people are looking for. Now, granted, I know, you know, we're on a podcast here where we routinely run, you know, an hour long in recording these.
Yeah.
But this is for a certain type of consumer, you know, like it's not for everyone. Some people don't have the time or the interest in sitting down and listening to a whole podcast. But that's where, again, some of that shorter stuff can work out. And I remember when we introduced Unbox, I was kind of like, you know, I like this concept because I always found those like kids unboxing toy videos on the internet just kind of fun, and people seem to really love that kind of stuff. Maybe that's something that works for us, and we did it, and it's consistently And again, it's incredibly simple. It is as literal as it sounds. we one of our vendors gives us a box of their product, and somebody records themselves unboxing it, showing you everything that's in it, talking a little bit about the product. And that's it.
That's it.
You're talking 2 to 3 minutes max, and that's it. You're done. You know, and yet those videos get a lot of views, a lot of attention. They're very shareable, very easy to use. So I think there's a good lesson there of trying different stuff out and seeing what happens. So I wanted to add a few extra little.
Did you have a couple things there?
If you want to move on to
no, go ahead. If you got something else, go for it.
I was just gonna say, there's definitely a growing demand for this organic short form content. I mean, one, because of the platforms of, I think Vine kind of started it back in the day, but now it's TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. And I think really what that is it's kind of back to my metaphor of, it's like the videos are like the clothes you're wearing to a meeting. A lot of times people want to do business with people they like, people they want to hang out with. So when you're making this organic content, you're really kind of wearing some more casual clothes and letting people know who you are more as a person than just a business, or attaching faces to your business or personalities to your business, or even, just a little reality. Because sometimes I think people get fed so much polished stuff, or at least we used to for a long time before all this, that it's kind of refreshing to see this more casual, organic, relatable, personable content. So I think that's really the role that's filling, and why there's such a demand for it these days.
Yeah, definitely. All right, a couple other stats I wanted to throw our way here. You know, we talk a lot about the generational stuff here when it comes to this, and that younger generations like Gen Z and millennials are the ones that are been very video native and are very excited about it. And that does lend itself to the statistics and the studies around it. Gen Z says they spend most of their time watching videos on YouTube and Netflix, 37%, 35%. It says they prefer user-generated content and influencer videos, and they're highly engaged and responsive. Millennials watch 10 to 20 hours of online videos per week. They use video sites to research products and services. 85% make purchases after watching videos, and 150% are more likely to use video for comparison shopping. But lest you think, all right, this is just a younger generation thing, the article that I found that was talking about this dug in a little deeper and showed that even when you get to folks 56 plus years old, 67% of them are using YouTube on a regular basis.
For sure.
So this is not something that's just a younger generation thing. Yeah,
it's
sure.
everybody.
Like the TikToks and the Reels and maybe some of the social media type stuff is trending a lot younger. But older generations now have embraced YouTube. Boomers are on YouTube. More than half are on a regular basis, which tells you that everybody on every end of the spectrum is on these video platforms watching videos in some way, whether it's to get news, whether it's to get information. the one they call out a lot is a lot of folks like to use it for research. I've done it before too, where maybe you have a little project around your house you're trying to figure out how to do, like how do I do X, Y, Z?
Yeah, exactly. How-to
And-
videos? Oh, forgot.
Yeah, like I used one to figure out how to I clean out something on my dishwasher a few months back. Like I was having some problems with standing water. I'm like, all right,
instead of calling the make
before
tag
I
man,
call a plumber, or the appliance manufacturer,
just go online.
Went online.
Were you
found-
successful?
I think we eventually still had to get someone because there ended up being like a hose place that I just couldn't quite get to on my own. But still was able to find out a lot of interesting stuff that now on a regular basis I'm like going in there, I gotta clean this thing
clean
out.
this
I
out,
had no idea this thing popped open and I could clean this out. But it's stuff like that that's just so good and useful. And we'll get to this more a little bit later, but that's also a great place where you can insert ads. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be you're trying to get video that people are going and watching your video specifically. You can also create ads that run ahead of videos, stuff that captures people's attention for a few seconds while they're waiting for their video to start. That kind of stuff is out there and available too.
Those golden 3 seconds, or
Exactly.
Yeah,
Even
pre-roll.
before that skip button pops up, you got enough time to grab. But to your point though, the short form content, I feel like that also lends itself to the idea of you want to talk about getting really good at your sales pitch. If in the past you used to talk about the salesperson, like what would your 30-second elevator pitch be? If you got on an elevator with your ideal customer, what would you tell them in that ride on the elevator to get what you wanted out of them? Well, the elevator pitch has turned into the short form video pitch now, is what that is. It's can you tell enough about yourself in whatever amount of time it takes for someone's thumb to pause before they swipe and move on to get them to either stay
it's brutal, right? Yes,
or click through
Click
and
through.
go do something. And that's hard to do.
It is.
But man, you want to talk about a way to teach you how to refine how you present yourself and your company and what you want out of your business and what you want people to do and engage with you.
Yeah.
Start making those kind of videos because you will learn very quickly what really works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's like writing poetry. Man, you got to super condense that stuff, right?
It's a great point.
You can't mess
There
around.
you go. Poetry and videos. That's what we're going for next.
But the stats are really interesting. So
They are.
video's ubiquitous. Maybe some of the younger generations, influencers and stuff like that. Are there influencers when you get up into boomers? I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there's some, yeah.
But not as influential type of a thing. Yeah. So, but the fact of the matter is, it's an important medium, and maybe we'll get into this. Having as a company or as an entity, I really think that if you don't have and I'll use the term loosely, a video strategy at this point, you should really reconsider it because it's that impactful of a medium.
Very much is. All right, well, let's talk briefly about what happens when someone engages you for prodding. By the way, those stats that I called out, and Dean, if you got yours somewhere too, we'll drop those in the show notes so you can check it out because there's a lot more detail you can get into about why video actually does matter. So Max, when someone comes to you and says, "All right, I want to do a video project. I need you to help me out. We want to shoot some video of XYZ, whatever it is." What are they typically expecting? What do they think you're going to bring to the table, and how does that match up with the actual reality of video production? Are there misconceptions out there that people may not quite realize when it comes to making video of what is and isn't the right way to do it, or what does and doesn't work?
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely depends on the client and the scope of that particular project. It seems like some clients are a lot more familiar with video work and kind of know more what to expect. But I'd say overall the biggest misconception, it seems, is I found people try to almost cram as much information as they can into a video.
Right.
Whereas I try to explain it's almost like they want to make sure that they're putting some money into this and that everything gets expressed about their business. But it's more about a strategy, and even when you are breaking down each particular video, sometimes less is more, or frequently less is more, and it's not necessarily about trying to cram as much info to convince someone to go with you as you can. It's about making them, kind of the feelings, making them feel a certain way, addressing problems, and you don't necessarily need a bunch of info or even to express everything you can do in that one video. And it really does depend on each video and the person, but I would say that's the biggest thing, is to think about the overall goal of your video. And I guess on the same note of misconceptions is people not really thinking too much about the goal for that video, which you would think people, when they make a video, they would have a pretty clear defined goal, but sometimes
Doesn't
people
happen that
just
much.
sometimes people just know they need videos and they want to make videos. So a lot of times I'll help guide through that process of, what's your goal? What exactly are you looking for this video? And then, usually it's just, more business. But then you still have to break down like, business from who? Do you have multiple types of clients? Are you just speaking to one kind of client? Because then that can get into, you're better off making multiple videos that are speaking directly to different client groups or client types than just one video trying to speak to everybody. And especially with the higher production videos, people, they want to get the most bang for their buck and try to cover all their bases, but you're much better off having multiple short videos speaking directly to a specific person. Getting as specific as possible is key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine some of the challenges that video production folks like yourself also face today is the old phrase, well, it's easy. Meaning, I've got this, everybody now has this wonderful
I
device.
shoot videos of my kids playing soccer every weekend.
What's so hard about this?
Yeah.
Why is this going to take a day to produce that? But again, so that to me, that's just an understanding of video strategy or the ways that you might want to use these. If you're going to bring in a production company, yes, spend the time to do that. Listen to the professionals who understand this medium and how to effectively use it. I mean, it gets into audio or framing out a particular scene. That's what you're paying for, right? I mean, Max, you've got a phenomenal eye, so that's what you want, that type of production value. If you're going to invest in it to be there, right? And it's not easy. I can remember countless video productions where we would walk in and it's like, I was on the sales side and we're talking about here's your numbers and here's your budget and blah, blah, blah. But then when we actually started rolling in and you've got boom operators coming in, you got people with mics and people, the clients, like, they just sit there with big, huge eyes like, what the hell is going on right now? But at the end of because there's a lot of work that can go on to a little, a little fraction of what's actually going to be seen.
What you see in that little box,
like when you're shooting,
what's happening all
shouts,
around it.
right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, there's stuff everywhere. But so anyway, I'll just go back and say that it's not necessarily easy. That was one of the harder things. And again, I think that's even harder in this way. I've been out of video production, that realm for over a decade now. But I mean, you're competing with, oh no, I shot my whatever, or my 5-year-old son is shooting video and editing video, and it's like, well, okay, if that might be good for a YouTube short, I don't know.
Well,
anyway,
there's nothing wrong with that stuff.
No, of
either.
course
I
not. Like I said, it can fit into the overall strategy,
right? But it depends on what your goal is.
But if
because
you're
there are
investing,
certain goals,
that's right.
especially if you're going to invest time and money and effort, and you really want to make something of it, and it's going to be that 24/7 sales rep. I feel like that's where you got to feel like you're going to need to try to step it up and turn it into maybe a little bit more of a production. I think like filming something on your phone is fine for like, let's say you're a business and you've got employees that are gregarious and they want to go film some stuff and put it on their socials to, create some interest and buzz in the business and what you offer. I think that stuff's great because to your point, it's that idea of like, it's a little more genuine and it's a little more like these are real people. But when you get to more of like a corporate level, things you got to step it up a little bit. It's got to be a little bit more than just something I shot on my iPhone in a random afternoon.
And I got a question for you there, Max, because one of the things that, when you read the question, are there any common misconceptions? Do you get a lot of like people that come in and think they can do a lot of computer, CGI? And it's like, I've got this concept, Max. I want to shoot this video and that building needs to come down. It's like, well, bro, we don't have,
you just click a button and that happens. Right?
I have gotten some of that. It hasn't, I feel like with more like corporate work, it doesn't happen too much. I used to, like when I first started, I did some music video work.
Okay, right.
And it was super common there. People definitely overestimate like the ability to just edit with, they see movies and stuff and they think, oh, this guy does video, he could probably do something similar, but they don't realize that these are like special effects specialists that are getting paid a lot of money to do that kind of stuff. So getting really in depth with certain special effects or even little effects that people underestimate how much time editing. I think editing in general, people highly overestimate, especially underestimate.
Yes.
Because there's so many apps where you can just drop clips and it edits for you and it even has transitions and captions and to your point, it's like everything's become so convenient nowadays that people just kind of assume it's just easy all around no matter what. But it's kind of like bringing it to the smallest of the fractal of, let's say, just a camera itself. If you just put it on auto, kind of like an iPhone, it's going to have all the settings for you. It seems super easy. But if you try to go to manual settings and you have no idea what you're doing and you're adjusting shutter speed and aperture, and then you're probably not going to get as good of a picture. And that's kind of what high quality video production is you're controlling the lighting, the camera settings, and then that with the editing, you're controlling that way more manually than if you're just dropping it in. So that manual creation just requires a lot more time, and there is a payoff to that. But that's kind of going to be I think, an ongoing battle, especially with the prevalence of AI that's growing. There's always going to be this battle of automation and manual work. And I think there's a value to manual work, and maybe it will get overshadowed, but I think hopefully it continues to persist.
Oh, I think it will, because the beauty of manual work is the artistry. Just because you have a paintbrush, doesn't mean you're a good painter. And and to your point, just because these video editing systems...
But what if I watched a lot of Bob Ross?
Yeah, not going to happen. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's how you find your calling.
You got a natural gift, perhaps.
Absolutely. But when even though you have an editing software that can do all these wonderful things, it doesn't mean you're going to be really good at it. Right. I mean, it is artistry to be able to put together great stuff that's shot in camera, mix in graphics, make sure the audio, it's a thing, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a thing that takes, it's a discipline that takes time, and it's an artistry. So, there's definitely value in that. If you're going to go into the higher production, which I would obviously advocate and sold it for years, but it's worth the investment, right? Yeah. And just let the artist be the artist is what I would say.
Yep. And, also, I think it's important to point out that even when you do see that stuff that was like clearly filmed on someone's phone, again, you're thumbing through TikTok or Reels or YouTube Shorts, and it's just like quick stuff people shot on their phones or whatever. If you go behind the scenes and and sometimes these people will
even the influencers, they'll
exactly like
they're lighting all over.
Yeah, exactly.
They're very intentional.
It's a production studio that just happens to be using a phone for a camera.
That's right.
It's not that they're
they've spent just some time.
They didn't just prop it up against the counter like you do at home or whatever and hit record and then just do their TikTok dance or share their little video or whatever. No, they may have spent hours perfecting it. They may have spent hours more editing it. Yeah. They've probably actually went and did makeup effects. They've got lighting going on. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's probably happening to create that 5 to 10 seconds of video that you actually bothered to watch, or let's say 30-second little clip that you watch, hit like, and then scrolled on to the next one, was potentially hours of their time. But they'll also tell you, like, if you're going to compete and you're going to get attention, you have to do it, because if you're just randomly doing it on your phone, just okay, that looks good, I'll do a tiny little bit of editing in the photo app and I'm done and post it, you're probably not going to get very far.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's like anything, you're going to get out what you put into it. And yeah, if you're just recording something on your phone and posting it as is, not really thinking about it or putting any editing into it, it's probably not going to really do too much unless you just so happen to record something really cool. But yeah, just like anything, even though it's a lot more convenient and we all have the tools, it still is all about the thought put into it. And, the writing, kind of like you mentioned earlier, someone's still got to write the script. I think that's where everything starts, is the idea, the writing. And then from there, if you have a good idea, you still have to, then there's the lighting and the framing and how it looks. And I like that you mentioned that, because iPhones can get some great images, and you could shoot a movie on an iPhone that would look great as long as it's lit correctly. And but then at that point, if you're going to go through the trouble of lighting it well and all that, you may as well get a nicer camera and make it kind of maximize how it's going to look. Yeah. But yeah, if you were to have a movie that was lit exactly how you would at Hollywood level quality and shot it on an iPhone, it would look awesome, and it would look way better. So yeah, lighting is definitely the most important thing when it comes to the visual look of video. So I like that. Even though you're shooting on an iPhone, you can still do a lot to make yourself stand out.
Right. All right, so we've had all these conversations, and we've kind of hit on a lot of this stuff, the do's and don'ts, and what does work and what probably doesn't work, and how it's not as easy as maybe you might think. So Now we've probably got some folks that are thinking, all right, I don't know if I want to do this then. This video production thing sounds difficult or expensive. I don't have the people. I don't have the budget. I don't have the knowledge. So how do you address those kind of concerns? Do you have clients that come to you sometimes saying like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't know that I can, afford, a big production. I don't know that I've got the right kind of people that I can put in front of the camera. How do you help out with that? How do you help them understand what they can and can't do based on what they've actually got?
Yeah, great question. So I really don't have too many people that want to learn how to make videos. I have had one company sort of approach me about that, and then we never ended up following through on me actually like training up some people. But yeah, it seems like people are either in a camp of I don't want to mess with this, just do it for me,
right.
or they're already kind of making their videos and maybe they just want some help editing,
right.
or that sort of thing. But I would say if you are a person who has these fears and you're thinking about it and maybe it's preventing you from reaching out, in terms of the cost, not just phones aren't the only thing that have made video a lot more accessible for people. I mean, even high quality video gear is getting a lot more accessible. And as Dean was saying, it used to be if you wanted to make a high quality video, you'd be spending tens of thousands of dollars. And while that still is the case, and I've assisted on some on this $100,000 commercial shoot where it was like the end product wasn't even anything too grand. It was just a large company pretty much. So
just a simple commercial. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bigger companies are going to be spending more on that kind of stuff. But, sorry, I just hit that. I'm sorry. I kind of lost.
No, I agree with you where you're going with a lot of that, because video production, it doesn't have to be, look, in today's world, you can have different grades of video production. We can have high end, which still exists. I was on film shoots that were, hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million budgets, but there is still an importance behind video production. In budgets today, I think you can get away with spending a few $1,000s on talent that can get your video, farther along than you can in-house, number one. Number two, again, knowing what your video strategies, I'll just keep referring to that. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's good to invest in some seminal pieces of content that you're going to have. Yep. Look, if you're going to have the 24/7 sales rep out there, you might want to invest a little bit in dollars into that. Hit the pause button, come up with a good script. Bring in some people that know what the heck they're doing when it comes to in-camera work and making it look good and stuff like that. It's okay. I would spend $10,000 on something like that, as opposed to something that's supposed to be cheeky and on social, that you can shoot on your, and you're just going to, so your other sales reps are literally just going to sit there with phones and, and do quirky things or whatever. And that's kind of cool. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, there definitely is a place for, bigger shoots. And it's, like I said, it's one of those things where you're going to get out what you put into it. So there definitely are options for more affordable, less expensive video production nowadays that is still very high quality. Like one of a good way I've built a living is by kind of having a niche and being able to one-man band shoots. And I can go create a very high quality looking video all by myself with my own equipment. And that's something that just didn't used to be able to be done. So that has opened the door for far less expensive video shoots, because a lot of what that price comes into is hiring other people and then gear. So when you can limit the people and then when the gear becomes more accessible, then the price does go down a lot. But with that being said, when I have more money to work with, I almost always will create a better product because you can hire more people, which just the less jobs I have to focus on, the better. When I can focus more on directing instead of making sure the camera, audio, lighting, and everything, like moving all that stuff around and directing. So spending more money to hire more people and even rent some better gear is going to make that video even better. So it's one of those things where there are definitely less expensive options, but if you need something even nicer, then the investment is worth it. But then like the self-made organic videos are kind of like a whole other camp where I think people should be doing both of those regardless. And we can definitely talk more about recommendations for getting started with that too.
Yeah. One of the things that was helpful for me in that world would be, whenever I was engaged with a customer that's coming in saying, "Hey, we want to shoot video." Okay, great. Do you have samples of things that what are you trying to get their expectation? Or so if you are thinking about engaging a video production company, do a little due diligence on your side to figure out what is it you're looking for. Show that video production company what it is. A video like this that can help me, and I'm sure it can help Max paint an idea what it's going to take in order to do that. Right. And then I'm sure Max has got samples where he could show, well, okay, I did this. This is a 1-day shoot myself. This is what you can get, and it's going to cost X. Or this is where I was more of a director role, and we had a videographer, and we could have a little bit more time on setting up the shots and stuff like that. So anyway, setting expectations was always one of those things that, but I think that you can, if you set the right expectations and come up with the right creative, just about any budget, you can produce video on, it's a bold claim, but just about any budget that you have, assuming you have more than $500 or I'll go $2,000. If you got more than $2,000, you could probably produce a quote unquote video for just about any budget. Yeah. And it just gets into refinement and how much time you're going to be able to spend per shot, those types of things, right? Would you agree?
Yes. No. Yeah, I love that you said that because it really does just come down to your budget. But with that being said, you could produce a video at pretty much any budget. So even if you're a company that has no budget to make videos and you want to get started, my advice would be just start as small as possible and just slowly grow it. It's kind of like starting a business or anything or any endeavor, really. You just got to start as small as possible. So luckily we all have a phone, so that's somewhere we can all start is with our phone. And then just get comfortable making some videos with that. And you don't have to post everything you make.
That's true.
So the important thing is start making stuff, start messing around with editing, whether it's just an app on your phone that makes it really easy, or maybe you even upload it to your computer and get a little more in depth with it with Premiere or something like that, or Final Cut. So just start with what you have. That's what I did. My first videos, when I really started thinking about video production, I started shooting some stuff on my phone to really get into it and see, do I really like this? How would it work? How does video editing work? And then I bought a camera, a relatively cheap camera. I think my first camera was like $500. And then I got some cheap lights and a cheap mic. So there's not necessarily like a right order to buy equipment, and it really depends on what your goal is. Because I would recommend having at least 2 cameras, 3 lights, but you could get by with 1 camera, 1 light, and a mic. So it's just about starting with what you have and be willing to invest into it, knowing that you're going to get a return. But definitely the important thing is to get started no matter where you're at.
I couldn't agree with you more. And here's a dirty little secret around video production. It is very much a freelance gig economy, meaning... Max, it's brilliant. You can dip your toe into, let's say that's, so I'll give you a use case. I think one of the best things that a company can do is produce a case study, right? Yep. Like, what did you guys do? Go out and interview somebody that you did work for. What was the problem? What is the resolution? And what are the results, kind of a thing. Pretty straightforward.
And
type
you got
of
a story
stuff.
right there to tell.
You got a story right there to tell. Let's say you're not comfortable with shooting the video, but you've toyed around with video editing because you had to edit something for your daughter's volleyball team, and so you think you're pretty good at iMovie. Right. Great. Hire somebody like Max for a day to come in and actually shoot that. Yeah. So now you've got good-looking stuff that's shot in camera, that's got good framing, good depth of field, blah, blah, blah. Good audio. You don't have to worry about that. The video looks good, but I can't hear them. Right. All these nightmares, right? In post-production, dip your toe. There's a small way of getting into it. Now you've got somebody like a Max. It's on your holster that you can use. And oh, by the way, Max also does editing. So if you run into an issue, or he probably knows editors, right? There you go. So that's exactly right. Start small and start walking and running and stuff like that. But you can it is very much a freelance community. Maybe it's the inverse. Maybe you love cameras and you think you shoot better than, I don't know, who's a good video cinematographer.
Kaminsky.
Yeah, there you go. You think
Dennis
you're at Kaminsky out there.
Spielberg's, yeah.
But you're terrible at editing, or editing makes you cringe. Fine. Hire an editor.
Yeah.
You know, there's people out there that do that as well, or graphics or stuff like that. It's very much that community.
Yeah.
And you can piece it together, but start small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, to your point you mentioned earlier, also this idea of like, building out something that you're doing. Again, this, we're not talking about something where you've got to make 30 videos a year that are all $20,000 plus. No.
Right.
Maybe you do that once and that lives somewhere that, again, kind of accomplishes that 24/7 thing where people are frequently coming across it, learning about you and your company.
Yep.
Something you can cut up and use where you need to. Let's encapsulate it just by just getting back to the video that we shot with Max.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So that was something we came up with in-house. Me and Cordy and Marco sat down, and you came in a couple of times and helped us kind of like plan out like the concept, the idea. I got to work on scripting. Marco started thinking about like what the shots were going to look like. Then that was a point where like, Cordy goes, you know what? I think we need someone with a little bit more of a professional filming eye, because this is going to be a little higher stakes and a little higher visibility and a better video than what we typically put out there. We have great people to do that stuff, but we're going a little notch ahead. So that's when he thinks, let's bring in a Max. And we did that. And the only other, I guess, really external expense was we rented a space to go and shoot that. But otherwise, the talent was all internal. We were doing most of the scripting internal. I believe, I think Cordy did most of the editing on the back end. I don't know if you did some of that too. Or
Yeah, he did. He did pretty much all. I'm pretty sure he did all the editing. I forget. I remember looking at it in Premiere, but I don't think I did any editing. Really.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that we were doing in house, but we recognized, hey, we want this to look just a little bit better than what we could do, and we knew that a Max could come in and make it look a little bit better, and that he had the skill and the experience of how to like manage a set and manage because again, this wasn't
on the frame.
Yeah, this
what's
wasn't just
happening in the
something where
frame,
we're just bringing people in, sitting them at a desk, and recording them speaking and interviewing. That stuff, most people can handle that. This had moving parts to it. This had action. This had a lot of different set pieces. And we needed all of that captured by someone that had that experience.
It was a little story. Yep.
So again, maybe you find the little piece that maybe you're not quite as good at. And then that's the part maybe you can farm out. Or if you want someone to do it all, then you can also go to someone like a Max who can help you do it start to finish too.
Yeah.
Not that hard to do this. And again, just got to figure out what you want to do and how to get there and what you're capable of and, your budget, your vision, and then go from there.
And again, understand that there's a vast freelance market out there that can help with that. Maybe the writing's not your thing, Right. There's, as you will attest, there is, and Max confirmed, and I couldn't agree more, good video starts with a great script. Yeah. I mean, you got to think about what is going to be, or a storyboard, one of the two.
At least something.
Not that you have to fully flesh out
it,
but just pause and think about what you're trying to do. What are the words? What are we trying to do? And then a good artist on the cinematography side can take that vision and create something with it, right? So, yeah.
Exactly. And building off that, when it comes to making a good script, I think when it comes to business, because if it's an artistic creation, then it's just about that's kind of a whole other discussion. But when it comes to business, the script needs to, I think even before a good script, you just need a clearly defined goal just to kind of bring it back. I know I kind of touched on that, but so many people just know they need to be making videos and want to make videos, but just don't necessarily have a goal for the video in general or each video they make. And I think even if it is a little video, having some sort of goal, even if it's just an unboxing video that we want to get more engagement from people who like unboxing videos, that's still some sort of goal. You're not just randomly making something. So having that goal to drive the script is super important. So that way you're not just blowing money. You're investing it into a specific goal and using a video as a tool to achieve that.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, hey, in a moment, we're going to have Max give us a little bit more of his suggestions and recommendations for how you can go out there and start your video strategy, maybe some of the baseline equipment that you should be using. But before we do that, I want to, as always, thank our sponsors here on the TEConnect podcast. We appreciate everyone who supports the show. If you like the show, you got to let us know. You got to tell us what you like about it. Leave us comments. Send in messages to us and tell us what you want to hear about on the show. Also, lots of places you can always find us. We're always on LinkedIn. You can find us on the BlueStar LinkedIn page. Leave comments on the weekly recaps that I post there. And of course, you can reach out to us anytime directly by email, TEConnect@bluestarinc.com. All right, let's wrap things up here. Let's do a little VAR value. And so again, we've had, I feel, this wide ranging conversation about the power of video and what you can do, at scale, what you can do on a little budget. But let's talk about that strategy aspect here. And if someone is, if one of our reseller partners is listening and thinking, man, I want to do more video. I get it. These guys are right on the mark, and I want to make this happen. What do you recommend when it comes to a video strategy? If you're starting from scratch, or maybe you've already done a little bit dabbling, and then also get into the equipment side of things. Like, what are some basics, that you think that anybody should have if they want to start maybe doing some of this stuff in-house? And granted, obviously we'll give folks an opportunity to reach out to you if they want to as well. But if they want to, do a lot of this work in-house, what's some of the basic places they should start?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on a lot of different things that I'll probably kind of circle back to. So sorry if I'm being a little redundant, but it's probably good for people who are interested to hear anyways. But the number one thing, which we already said, was just get started with what you have. And, everyone's so unique in their budget and what they have access to and who they have on staff. So whatever you have, even if it's just you and your phone, then get started with what you have and start to try to actually get better at it. Don't just make a video, post it, and say, well, nothing happened, so I guess video doesn't really work for me. If it doesn't work for you, figure out why it's not working, because it clearly works for so many people. So there's a reason it's not working for you, if it's not working. So then once you can get it to work, or once you feel like you're getting some traction and you're ready to invest more, I would say first invest in audio and lights. Probably audio first, because we already have a phone, so you can set that up. Even if you don't have a tripod, you can do a makeshift tripod, set it up on a table. And then getting just a lapel microphone that you can clip on. They make some pretty cheap ones that you can even plug into your phone, and now it's directly connected. So you've got some decent audio that you can have with your phone. And then next step, I would say, is to make sure you have good lighting. So the reason I put audio before lighting is only because you could make a video next to a window with some daylight that's going to look very nice and light you up nicely. And even if you have some practical lights in the background, then you can still get a very good looking image from just natural light. But once you can start affording some lights, I would definitely get a light. 2 lights is great, because then you can add more dimension. You can get a backlight as well as a key light. Really, lighting's one of those things where you can't really have too many lights, especially if you're doing a variety of shoots. Like for that Mr. Chow shoot or Chaos, we had a lot of lights set up. I could think about the total number, but you're not just in a bigger shoot like that, you're not just lighting a subject. You have to light up the background so it's not too dark. You have to light up the other people in the frame and stuff like that. So lighting really is it's kind of a cliche and a trope, but it's a cliche for a reason. It is everything when it comes to video. And then I say video, but audio is 50% of that. So then the next step after video and audio, lighting and audio, would be to start looking into a professional camera. And it gets tricky with those because there's such a wide range. Like I said, my first camera was like $500. I'm not too sure on the current lower end market of things, because it's been, I guess, like 6 years since I got that camera. So I haven't really looked into like what's current in that price range. But I'm sure, given that technology's gotten better, you could probably find something okay in that range. But if you are going to invest in a camera, you may as well wait till maybe you have a couple thousand saved up to invest in something like that. And there are a few different options. I shouldn't say a few. There are many different options you could go when it comes to picking a professional video camera. So it's kind of tricky to give an exact recommendation. I will say right now I use my main camera as a Sony FX3, and I love it. It's pretty affordable for a bigger company if they wanted to buy some cameras, but it is not the most affordable camera for someone just looking to start out. So,
But still a worthwhile investment again if you want to be serious about this.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's actually I think the lower end, but it's on Netflix's approved camera list. So it's kind of a fun fact about it. So it's high quality enough for Netflix, and it creates some really great images. So I definitely highly recommend the FX3. I think that's around $4,000 for just the body, and then
the lenses.
Yeah, then you get in the lenses, which, if you want to get a set of prime lenses, that's going to be expensive. But I would recommend just getting a zoom lens to start, because if you get a good zoom lens, it looks great. And for people who might not know, there's zoom lens and fixed lenses. So a zoom lens can get you a range of focal lengths where a fixed lens is just on one focal length. So by having a zoom lens, you're essentially getting multiple focal lengths for the one lens. Granted, a prime lens, people argue, has a slightly better look to it, but it's pretty negligible to the amateur viewer. So, yeah, it's really just about starting with what you have and slowly building off of that. Definitely prioritizing whatever you need for what you're shooting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm going to go back a little bit. First off, have a strategy. That was your question. How do you, for those wanting to start with the video strategies from scratch, have a strategy.
Right.
Delineate.
Think it through a little bit, yeah.
If we haven't sold you that video is important, if you're not using video today, first off, you got to convince yourself that video is really important, depending on where you put it and all that kind of good stuff. But have a strategy. I like where you went, Max. The only thing I'll throw in there is lighting can make a huge difference. I'm an audio guy, so thank you so much for putting audio at the top, because it can make a huge difference. But right below that, you had lighting. All you have to do is understand what 3-point lighting is. So you need 3 lights. You need a key, a fill, and a backlight. If you do that, your videos, like let's say you're just going to be interviewing for case studies and stuff like that. It's a basic lighting technique that can make a world of difference and separate your video just right out of the gate. Even on an iPhone, using 3-point lighting makes a difference. So good stuff.
Great point. I like that you pointed out that specific. Sometimes I get wrapped up in the bigger picture, but yeah, the specifics of just like 3-point lighting is huge. And,
huge.
And on that, having 2 cameras, the reason that's so important is it allows you to cut more seamlessly. So if you have multiple angles, now you can you don't have to get everything perfect. You can cut between shots and it still looks like one seamless video.
Yep.
But no, 3-point lighting, that's a great point, because it's pretty basic for anyone to do, and it's going to set your videos apart from people who don't do it.
Absolutely. Right out of the gate. I guarantee you most influencers are doing some version of that.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So you've got it going on.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right.
In the studio.
All right, so let's say you heard all this, and you heard all these different camera types and key lighting and all this other stuff and audio stuff, and you're going like, oh man, this sounds way too complicated for me. How can a Max Faust help them out? Where can they find you if they want to reach out to you and get your assistance with all this stuff?
So my website is faustfilm.media. I think faustfilm.com was taken at the time, but it works out because media is a little more unique anyway, so it's in line with what I do.
And I'll drop that link in the show notes too if anybody wants to go find it and click on it and reach out to you also.
Awesome. Cool. And I am on Instagram as well. I believe it's just at Faust_film. Should probably know that for sure. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But my website's definitely faustfilm.media.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. Check that out. Now, a couple things I'll add is, again, if you are trying to maybe do this in-house, I promise you that you probably have a Max type on your employee roster somewhere.
Probably,
that
yes.
person who loves film, loves television, knows maybe a little bit more about it than they should. Maybe they haven't actually done this stuff, but they still might know enough about it. In a way, when we started this podcast, I jumped on board mostly because I listened to an obscene amount of podcasts, and I was like, well, I understand how podcasts work. I've never made one, but I understand how podcasts work, and I think that can be very helpful sometimes. It's just someone even understanding just the basics. And
absolutely,
and kind of similar, like, again, I don't know anything about shooting films necessarily. I've never tried to do it, but I've also watched a lot of films. I've watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I've read a lot of stuff from filmmakers and watched behind the scenes things and listened to podcasts. So I know a lot about sometimes I'll comment on something. I'll be watching like a movie with my wife, and I'll be like, "Well, that was an interesting way they framed that shot there, or whatever." And she's like, "Did you go to film school or something?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I just watch a lot of this stuff, and I just like it."
Interesting.
There are probably people you have working for you, most likely, that have that kind of interest in that kind of stuff. Or maybe you have someone who's a big audiophile. Maybe they're a musician on the side. Maybe you have someone. Maybe you have a TikTok influencer. Or maybe again. Not necessarily like the big giant millions of views influencer,
right.
but I wouldn't be surprised if you have someone on your staff that makes a lot of little videos on social and already kind of gets at least some of the basics of lighting and has understood what it takes to film a good video that people will engage in. Those are the people, find them on your staff, and you might already be able to start piecing together a little bit of what you need for that in-house production, and then figure out what you're missing, and then that's where you can go out and find a Max or someone else to help you out on that back end.
Absolutely.
I think there's a possibility there. The other thing we'll pimp ourselves a little bit here too, which is we are helping our VARs do some of this stuff. We've got a whole suite of marketing activities. We would call them Demand Lab. Again, I'll drop a link to a little menu of those services that we offer up. But a lot of it's just like, social marketing that we can help you do. But we have some video stuff in there.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got options for YouTube ads, so if you've got videos or you want us to shoot something for you or create an animated video, we've got our producer Laura behind the scenes today filling in for Marco. She does a lot of animated videos for us. We can have her pull her in and put something that you can stick as an ad in front of YouTube and capture some people. Or we do a lot of some of those video case studies.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll
hire Max and come out to your location.
If you've got a great success story and you want to put together a cool video, we'll create that for you, and then it's yours. We'll hand it over and say, hey, here's yours to go out and promote and do with it. And obviously, if you can partner up with a vendor to get some extra funding to help do that, great. But if you have the capability in-house to pay for that, we're happy to help you out with that kind of stuff
absolutely.
too.
No doubt.
And maybe if we really need extra help, maybe we drag a Max in to help us out.
There you go.
Didn't you? Weren't you just helping out with a case study recently for Cordy?
Yeah, we just did 2 of them.
There you go. So see, so we're not afraid to go out and get the best to help us out when we need to.
That's right.
So don't hesitate to reach out if you need help, because there are plenty of people. And to Dean's point earlier, it's a big gig economy with this kind of stuff. And there are lots of people out there that can help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap things up as always with what's TEConnecting with you. This is the segment where we talk about something in the world of business, science, innovation, technology, just whatever we feel like chatting about today. So Max, what's on your mind? What's TEConnecting with you right now?
So I know you said it didn't have to be industry related, and we can definitely talk about something else, because I feel like this might be a horse that has been beaten dead and over again. But have you guys, I know you guys have talked a lot about AI, but have you talked much about it when it comes to video production? And
a little bit, like
Not
the
a lot.
Sora and Runways of the world. We've kind of brought them up, but we were not sure what you can and can't do yet. So what's your experience? I meant to actually ask you about that. What's your experience with those tools?
So I haven't done too much when it comes to photo generation, like Midjourney. I've messed around a lot with that. I haven't done too much with video generation, like from complete scratch. The tool I have used a lot, it's called Topaz Labs, and it essentially is a video enhancement tool. So the only times I've really used it is when I shoot weddings. Usually, ideally you capture everything perfectly, but weddings are so run and gun that there might be a moment where something goes kind of out of focus, or maybe it's a little grainy because you don't have proper lighting in one scene. So the 2 biggest things are like the focus and the grain fix from Topaz. It's definitely, it's ideal still to just get a good in-camera shot to light it correctly and all that, which with corporate work, I never really use it because I always have time to light everything correctly.
Right.
But when it comes to something run and gun like that, it's a super nice tool. It saved my butt with some grainy footage, which, I could give an out of focus shot or grainy footage in a video, but I'm a perfectionist and I like to avoid that. So that's what I found to be extremely useful. And I wonder too if people could start, and I'm sure they have, but start even using it with just their iPhone footage to make that look even better. And you can shoot content and now enhance it. And as much as I would love to shun and boycott AI, I don't think it's a good business decision, because the artist inside of me, it definitely stinks and it's scary. But the business part of me definitely sees it for what it is. And if you just look at the patterns of history, it's only going to grow, and you have to be on riding that wave, not getting swallowed by it. So, I'm from what I've seen, it's just a very helpful tool that still has not gotten to a point where it's going to completely take my job. But there is that fear in the back of my head. Will this at one point take my job entirely? Which I don't know. It's definitely possible. I still think no matter what, there's always going to need to be writers, essentially, people who are directing the AI to make certain things. But yeah, it's like, will it get so good where, we just shot a case study at McCormick Place in Chicago, but could you just upload people's faces in the location and then have AI create a case study that's almost as good? And then at that point, if it's for free, everyone's going to start doing that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of the scary side, is that it could get to a point.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But I don't know if it's ever going to completely replace it. And then I think when the time comes that it is very good, you're still going to have that. Then there's going to be a draw to the more manual work that's someone created by hand, and that itself will become probably its own niche. So maybe it'll kind of shrink the industry. I'm not exactly sure the effect it'll have. It's a little scary, but overall, I think it's pretty cool, and it's been fun playing with too.
Yeah. What's it called again? Topaz?
Yeah, Topaz.
Okay.
And they have video enhancement too, or photo enhancement too. I've just used it for video though.
Nice. Yeah. There you go.
Good stuff.
It's cool.
All right, what's
Maybe we'll try that too. Oh, wait, are we looking for another sign of the apocalypse? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I
Or
feel
another
like there's
sign.
way too many as it is.
Another
let's hear it.
Well, if it's not Gen AI, I'm going to go robotics. And we'll all have a robotic assistant in the very near future. And sometimes you have to start small. I know we've had these big grandiose discussions around robotics, but here's the headline: Robot learns to clean bathroom sink. Okay. So it's just the sink, right? So envision a white sink and a robotic arm. So it's not a robe like a full-on Optimus, from Elon. It's just an arm. But what these researchers did at TU Wien, in a school in Austria, they have the experiment that they ran, or what they actually did, is teach the robotic arm. All they did is they put this dirt. It's like a red line of dirt on a bathroom sink, and then indicated to showed it how to clean that. And then that's all it did, the one demonstration. Right. And then it put other marks of dirt on the sink. It did not teach the robot how to do it, but it learned from itself. Wow, and then cool. So it created and it cleaned the sink. So this was like one of those revolution. They call it federated learning, which allows robots to share and improve their knowledge and things of that nature. But so in essence, you showed it what you wanted to do, and you got to start small, I guess, right, with the bathroom sink, and then it cleaned the whole thing. It just random. Well, if you randomly put dirt on it, it would go ahead and clean it. It would, and it didn't need to be taught how to do the corners and in the bowl and underside and stuff like that. It figured it all out on itself.
Wow,
so the next logical step is eventually it says, okay, humans are the ones that keep making this dirty. Yeah. And if I want it to stay clean, I have to eliminate the humans.
Yes. Well, sure. We'll get there. No, hopefully not. Yeah. So it's funny, right? You got to start somewhere in the bathroom sink. In this case, was where they started. Yeah.
Especially once you start making them clean the toilet, then they're definitely going to revolt.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, we don't do this. Yeah, the humans got to go.
I just cleaned that.
So it's TEConnecting with you.
What did you eat last night?
Yeah, really. Yeah, no doubt.
Cut back on the chili. All right, so I actually had forgotten to come up with a TEConnecting for this, but as we were talking, I was thinking about some interesting behind the scenes movies and videos about filmmaking that I think can be a lot of fun to watch sometimes. Again, I love this kind of stuff. And two that stood out to me. One, there was a great Steven Spielberg documentary some years back. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was basically just him just kind of talking a little bit about his background and his life. And much like your story, he was just at some point in his life a kid who just thought movies were cool, got himself a Super 8 camera and just started filming little videos and, with his friends and, creating little sets. And that turned into, one of the greatest directors of all time eventually. It was a little kind of start small thing. Another one, if you want to understand, sometimes the what goes into making a movie, there was a great one called Memory that came out maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's about the making of Alien, the first Alien film. I feel like I bring this film up a lot.
Yes.
But because I think it's just one of those.
I have to rewatch it.
I just think it's just one of those just amazing films, and every time I watch it, I appreciate it so much more for its simplicity and yet how incredibly well made and detailed the movie actually is. But there's a great documentary called Memory about the creation of that film and how it came, where it went from and what it turned out to be, and just some little nuances of the filmmaking process and like how they, created suspense and built the world within that for a, essentially a monster movie that, like Jaws, does not really feature the monster all that much and yet has an incredible sense of dread all throughout. So.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation.
There you go.
If you're interested in video production, go find some cool little behind the scenes stuff of how, some of the great films were made. And you might see some of the little interesting things you were surprised by of how stuff got made that you...
Yeah.
I think sometimes just even understanding, like, especially if you find filmmakers that did a lot of practical effects, which I know kind of fell by the wayside, but I feel like are starting to come back a little more. Like, we've
do a little more in camera.
I feel like we've kind of swung back away from
sure.
the CG stuff as much, and like, let's figure out what we can do in camera. And you'd be amazed by the stuff that still isn't actually real.
Right.
That people have figured out such brilliant ways to make in camera look fantastic and look realistic, even though it's
an art.
Not really there.
It's an art.
So
yeah, for sure.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, that is What's Technically with us. Max Faust, thanks so much for joining us again today. We appreciate having you on the show.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So
this is awesome.
Faust Film or faustfilm.media, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Again, I'll have the link down in the show notes. Go check it out. In fact, if you don't normally check out our show notes, I recommend it for this episode because there's just a lot of good links I think we're going to put down there. We'll put the chaos video. We'll put some of these interesting links about video stuff. We'll have Max's link in there. So go check it out. And if you're wanting to do some video in your business, reach out, get some help, or do it yourself. Send those videos to us. We'd love to see what you produce, actually. We're happy to critique them for you, too. And
absolutely.
give you some of our suggestions. And as always, folks, please stay connected. The TEConnect podcast is brought to you by ELO. Elevate your customers' applications with ELO's 04 and 54 series interactive touchscreen displays. With support for up to 40 simultaneous touches, I still don't know how you
Did
have
you just say 40?
40 touches going on at the same time.
Holy moly.
Like,
well, if you're ever a kid, like kids walk up to the kiosk with
That's
you.
true.
And there's 10.
That's a good
Then you got 2 kids, there's 20.
All right, there we go.
There you go. There's your 40 points, just like that.
ELO was like, yeah, we thought through this. We know what we're doing. You get lightning fast responsiveness and anti-friction glass. The 04 series prioritizes the user experience. By combining the touch display with the ELO backpack or a bright sign player, you can effortlessly convert these displays into versatile life-size 32, 43, 50, or 55-inch tablet. That's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
The back of the display has never looked so clean. You can do VESA for PC mounting, a power brick and power cable mounting, external PC power pass-through, and a contained cable routing that eliminates the mess of cords and bulky attachments. Sounds like a nice, sleek experience you can make out of it.
Yes.
All right. Of course, ELO has all their accessories and other things that you can use with their devices. So there's ELO View remote management. Up to 4 EdgeConnect peripherals can be attached. Touch-through Peacock glass, landscape ports for tabletop orientations, and durable long-term performance built for 24/7 high-traffic environments. The 04 and 54 series displays are perfect for retail, wayfinding, healthcare, hospitality, and more. Check out the link in the show notes and contact the BlueStar ELO team to learn more.